Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Worlds 2015, where the international wildcard Bangkok Titans are about to go up against H2K in the fight to stay alive in Group C. Now, last time these teams met, Hjarnan got his hands on Mordekaiser and went huge, 13-2 and 10. Obviously, they can't leave that up again. Now, Yamato Cannon, we have the honor of having your expertise on the desk as a person who has coached against this team. So if you were to give Bangkok Titans any advice going into this match, what would it be?
I think the approach you should take in their particular scenario, which the approach I like to take in H2K, is they are playing by the book always. Have this consistent play style. They play around the Drakes, play around the Baron. There's nothing like anything strange about H2K. They're always kind of solid throughout the game. And to kind of interfere with that, you need to kind of throw some wrenches into the cogs. Play an early game composition. Try to just snowball the game out of that, because when they're out of their comfort zone, they just feel so out of place.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And, you know, it's surprising because Bangkok Titans, while not a fantastic team, they're definitely one of the weaker teams in the overall tournament. They have a really good assassin player. Like, G4 is actually one of these players that can make things happen. We've already seen the quirky Aurelia pick, but he actually plays a very good Zed and a very good Yasuo, not to mention the standard Diana and Ares, things like that. So I want him to get on a champion, camp out his lane, and then just see if you can make something happen. Sure, it's a very long shot, but if you throw that cog, try and take Ryu on head-to-head, then you can create split pushes, break up the map, maybe try and degrade the game somewhat, and just move from there.
And Tabe, we saw Bangkok Titans have some difficulty dealing with that Mordekaiser in the bot lane. So how specifically do you see that matchup playing out if they do decide to leave it up again?
First of all, we can see that Mordekaiser has been banned nearly every game, every single game in the Worlds. And I think Mordekaiser is obviously a very OP champion right now. And because I think Fresh is not a good pick against Mordekaiser, is simply because you cannot death sentence onto him, because their support will be having his W and will be step in front of Mordekaiser and harassing you very easily. And on top of what Spawn said, because G4 mid lane loves to play assassin like maybe like Zed and Yasuo, so I think their team should consider more about banning Lulu to have a better laning phase.
All right, so looking for them to get rid of the Mordekaiser and the Lulu, open themselves up to an assassin-like meta in order to take down each H2K, rather. Now, gentlemen, time for predictions. Yamato, we're going to start on your end and run this way.
Bangkok Titans have to pull some crazy-ass shit. I'm thinking bringing the LeBlanc, bringing a Shaco. Why not just go full early game, just try to snowball the game through the max, and maybe they'll have a chance. But I have to lean towards H2K.
All right.
It's the logical way.
I'm kind of the same thing. I think that, like, if there is going to be a weird, quirky game, it will be this one. I think H2K will handle it very well, but I think that the wrench will be thrown early.
I'm looking for that wrench. All right, and Tabe finishes up.
I have to agree with you two, because we can see that Bangkok Titans is not doing very greatly in the group stages. And I think if the teams, they're so different of their power, because I think Bangkok Titans is so weak against H2K, I think maybe the ban picks is not important too. Yeah. Even they don't have Mordekaiser and Lulu in H2K, they may be still losing because their champion pool and their mechanics are still better than Bangkok Titans.
Well, the H2K looking to be favorites here on the desk. The teams are ready, so let's head over to the casters to get us some champ select.
Thanks, Dash. And as the teams make their final adjustments, let's check out our starting lineups. Of course, I'm so excited to get into this matchup. Oh my goodness, because Bangkok Titans excite me. There's Warlock there in the top lane, 007X, the Udyr man from the IWCI, G4 in the mid lane, the assassin god himself, Lloyd the AD carry, and Moss, who's Thresh needs to turn up, because I just want people to understand how good this guy is on that champion.
Yeah,
we'll
they
see if they
definitely
can stand up to the test.
They did okay, but they're facing up against probably the most likely team they can beat here. H2K, obviously, top lane sporting their overwhelming. Still a big disparity, though. Lulix will be here in the jungle. Mid lane, Ryu came into this group looking for revenge on Faker. Didn't really find it just yet. AD carry Hjarnan, supported by Kasing. And if you talk about good Thresh on the side of Bangkok Titans, I always just want to see Kasing play Thresh again, especially when he's in his comfort zone, all under the hawk eye of good old Prolly.
Well, Kasing's been playing fantastically well anyway. So talking about supports that have shown up, there have been a lot of supports that may be lacking a little bit. We're looking at the likes of PYL here, but Kasing has definitely been playing well. And even if he gets on the likes of Shen, Alistair, his play at Worlds thus far is fantastic.
I mean, you heard the guys talking about pick and ban earlier and how the Mordekaiser came through for H2K last time these two teams met. despite the Mordekaiser, that game was actually fairly close. And it was honestly a pretty hard carry performance by Kasing. I mean, it had an amazing, amazing Alistar game.
Yep.
They actually had them win the game in the first place. So as weird as it sounds, this is a closer match than I think many people think. It is still probably H2K favored, but it required not only some really strong champions, some really, really high-level play to even win that game last time.
Yeah, Kasing in that game on the Alistar, one of the few supports not messing up the combos in this tournament. Alistar combo got nerfed, and it looked like a small, just, you know, casual nerf right there.
It was making it easier as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's making it easier, but there's so much muscle memory in that combo for so many of these pros that it's actually incredibly hard to keep landing it. We're in Champs League right now, though, so let's see if Mordekaiser makes it through yet again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Bangkok Titans do on the blue side here as well, able to get that priority pick in. We'll see what they decide to go for. Rek'Sai is going to be banned away from Lulex, though, first up. The answer is Gangplank, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, Freak touched about it earlier in the last Champs League. These high percentage bans will generally come out on the red side, so you can think Gangplank can get banned here. Maybe Kalista, if you're really afraid of her, will still be banned on the red side, because those are champion picks with too much influence if they get to the first pick on blue side. Lulu is one of those other champions right here, so that's some of the bans that we could expect out of H2K.
Yeah, Mordekaiser, Darius, some other options there as well for Bangkok Titans. They're going to ban away the Thresh, so not wanting to let that go to round 2, looking to try and get a different priority pick. Mordekaiser, no surprises there on that ban. Trying to keep it even, you know, ban percentages.
Well, Tabe said get rid of Lulu so that G4 has an easier time assassinating people. Of course, Ryu would be just fine on the Lulu, actually. Odoamne has actually been the big carry right now. He's actually #2 of all top laners in this tournament in terms of damage share. So setting up Odoamne actually has been reasonably good for H2K, to be honest.
Yeah, and speaking about Lulu as well, I mean, it is actually a first pick that the Bangkok Titans can go for. They are going to ban away
the
Tahm
bench.
Kench. They are definitely bottling the axolotl here. This Warlock. Not going to be able to do that. But last ban for H2K. We'll see what they do decide to take away from the Rift. And the Lulu is an option because Warlock, he plays that in the top lane. It's a safe top lane pick as well, and Warlock hasn't necessarily been the strong player on the Bangkok Titans despite being their shot caller. You may as well put him on something that can sit back and just control the lane.
Yeah, well, the last game was very close. It did evolve from the way H2K drafted the composition. You can see in the bottom of your screen last time they played full-on assassin pick composition, but they ended up grouping for a lot of fights with it because they had Mordekaiser, so it's quite weird right here. Let's see if H2K get more of a traditional team composition right here, so because they still have a shot, you know, if they win this match right now and they beat EDG later on, they still have a shot of tying EDG, I believe, so that's definitely what they're playing for, so you may see a slightly more conventional by the numbers H2K coming out of here.
And that's the thing, when we saw just yesterday, the wildcard team basically tying for 3rd place with Counterlogic Gaming, so the Bangkok Titans can live up to that and tie H2K with 1 win apiece if all goes according to BKT here. H2K definitely, as you were saying, very happy that Edward Gaming had lost the game just to go, because we might see in Game 5 of the day that battle for 2nd place between these two teams. Right now, taking their time with their first round picks on the red side.
I mean, coming into the tournament, you would expect here just a generic jungle pick and a Braum support pick for Kasing. This was more in the 5.14 era, so obviously a lot of things have changed. H2K look like they still value Darius here, and Kalista obviously was never picked on red side in 5.14 because she was never open and available on red side, so she's open. Like that. I like to see Kasing play with Kalista usually because he can play even more aggressive, and Hjarnan and Kasing have good synergy when it comes to using Fate's Call, both defensively and aggressively.
What's interesting to me, though, is the fact that Gragas didn't get picked up their first round for H2K because of the jungle bans, the Rek'Sai and the Elise both being gone. Gragas is basically next on the list for both these junglers here. I'm not surprised. It obviously go to BKT, but the fact that H2K cared more about the Darius than the Gragas is interesting to me.
We have seen Lulex has played some Lee Sin so far, especially against teams that you rate personally weaker, where you think you can find more openings for aggressive ganks and just dash back. He could end up picking up that Lee Sin and have that as an option for more aggression in the early game, more snowballing, get the Darius ahead, get the Kalista ahead, and that could be the approach. Obviously, I think if H2K could, they would have picked all 3 champions at once, but obviously only 2 at a time.
And instead, they're just picking multiple knockups here, of course, with G4 being able to play potentially that Yasuo. That is so many opportunities to get that last breath off, but H2K now to answer. And also, you know, just strong picks in themselves.
I mean, I think Ryu can blind pick his mid laner expecting a Yasuo matchup.
Yeah,
now.
almost.
Realistically, I think that's very, very likely here for him. Crap, but you talked about Lee Sin. You're right about this one. It's already had 2 Lee Sin bans against him in 3 games so far. This, of course, being the 4th here for Lulex. So if we go by popularity, that's probably next up for him.
It's pretty hard to draft here for H2K because Bangkok Titans, they've picked 3 champions, but they're so generic that they can go into pretty much any direction with it. They fill many different roles. They don't have any weaknesses. We see the expected Lee Sin come out here, and we have the Kalista Annie lane that is incredibly potent with trading and just blowing people up. We could see a TF come out here, but Rio just wants to wait because he doesn't really want to play that matchup TF into Yasuo.
So this is probably a little bit far-reaching, but back when probably was a mid laner over in North America, Annie was his Yasuo counter pick actually, because so many of her spells go through the wind wall, targeted stuns useful. This seems very unlikely.
Where did it get him though?
It got him to Worlds as a coach. His mind for the game much better than his mechanics.
That's true, and I mean that's what we're talking about here. So that certainly works out. But Bangkok Titans now with 20 seconds to go, they have to round out this comp. We'll see whether it is going to be the Yasuo. Of course, with Lulu heading towards the top lane, it means they can balance out that magic damage and physical damage. So it is an option here.
I mean, Yasuo Tristana is something we could see here because it provides another knockup.
That's another knockup.
Generally, knockback. Generally, when you see Kalista Tristana is the answer because that matchup tilts 1v1 trading. Almost on every auto attack up to 6 or 7, Tristana wins, and after 7 auto attacks, you're actually dead anyways as Kalista, so that's why you want to do that. The matchup against a range support makes it tough though. Alistar can't really punish Kalista Annie, so we may still see a lane swap necessary to get through the early stages of the game here.
All right, well, Ryu to play his 4th mid laner in 4 games, we expect. Already played LeBlanc, already played Lulu, already played Echo. And maybe he goes back to LeBlanc, actually, for the matchup itself.
Slow on wake clear then. Snowball again, but again, last time when H2K faced off against Bangkok Titans, they went full-on assassin. Their wave clear mid was Echo, I believe, so not all too worried about that, it seems. They just want to blow people up with this composition.
No, Lissandra comes through, so a different point-and-click stun for this champion. Still can lock up the Yasuo, and in fact, his dash, that E, does get interrupted by Root, so Lissandra can easily create distance by Wing while he's mid-dash and getting away.
Yeah, and what I really love is the massive pick potential here as well. You Glacial Path in, you get that Frozen Tomb down, and it can mean that Odoamne can get to that point of being massive with the Noxia Might. He can start beating the heck out of people after that initial pick, with the help of Tibbers there as well from Kassim.
Yeah, I agree. H2K's composition definitely very good at setting up for this Darius. A lot of ways to go in. You expect Righteous Glory or Talisman of Ascension to come out from Kassim in the support role, so setting up for a big Darius carry, and Odoamne has been the carry for this team this tournament. See if that works out for him.
Incredibly well-rounded composition for BKT though. If they get through the early game and they don't get smashed by a couple of aggressive ganks and they can avoid these, roams from Kassim where he lands the flash Tibbers, their teamfight composition later on in the game is actually incredibly strong. They have double tank for peel, they have a wind wall to cut off one of the entrance points to the fight. They have a holistic counter to Juggernauts and just pick composition with the Lu who can just kite them for days. And then generally they have one hyper carry in the back, Tristana, who can actually get a Zeeks from the Alistar. So there's a really good win condition here for BKT if they can play to their strengths, which is something we haven't really seen from the weaker teams in this tournament overall.
We'll see if BKT can do that. I think this is one of the best comps we've seen from them all tournament long. So if you guys think they can do it, then tweet your predictions into @LullySports on Twitter. Tweet the hashtag BKT win or the hashtag H2K win. We'll see who comes out on top from the fan vote. Of course, in about 35 minutes, we'll see who comes out from the game itself. But we are here, Bangkok Titans, with a chance to look at a tie for 3rd place in the group. H2K basically need this win if they want a chance of making quarterfinals, because they can face Edward Gaming at a possible tiebreaker a bit later on in the day. Guys, let us know how it's going to go because our game is going to get started in just a minute. Yeah,
just a minute. And of course, G4 on his Yasuo as well. Incredibly excited to see this. I mean, we saw it all through the IWCQ when they qualified here. We saw it before at IWCI as well. This guy loves his assassins and really wants to be able to set this one up. But I like the fact that they've also included a whole lot of skirmishing and team fighting prowess here, because this is a team that doesn't necessarily focus on, the macro play moving around the map. They just want to fight you at any possible time ever, and they just don't think about it. So, I mean, giving them a lot of tools to do this as well.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a short pause. That's why I was already getting caster position close to the screen. I was like, oh, coming back to us. But yeah, what BKT have to be incredibly careful of is this wealth of AoE crowd control, whether it's a Fate Call, knock up on multiple people followed by a Tibbers, or Lissandra just diving to your backline and pressing R on herself. If they can survive that initial wave of damage, H2K, they kind of drop off the grid when it comes to damage unless Darius gets that reset. That is what they're looking for. One kill and all hell breaks loose, because if Darius doesn't die 5 seconds later, you touched on it, the 5 stacks coming out, then things do get rough.
Yeah, but what they do have is a lot of ability to get that first kill. That's sort of the whole point. They sort of looked at Lissandra and went, okay, well, at least we can now just completely pick someone off and get this fight going in their favor. Plus, Rend as well, fantastic kill securing ability to try and get this Darius going.
Yeah, the initial way to start a fight definitely going to be a struggle for H2K. Just to keep you guys at home updated, Moss didn't connect to the game. We have the game paused to see what's going on. So as we figure out what the connection issue is, if it's his computer, we'll get that sorted in a second.
Doesn't want to play that matchup. Playing Alistar is incredibly, I guess, it's a bit of a boring matchup into double range because you have to spec into heal early, so you basically become a heal bot, and then you rely on Lloyd.
You stomp around yelling a lot is what
Stomp around yelling while you hope your AD carry avoids poor trades 2v1, and you just want to go even on CS up until the point where somebody overextends or you get a gank, and then suddenly that combo becomes gold for engaging, and then you can get the kill.
I want to ask you about a matchup actually here. Talking about Annie, because I went and looked at picks and bans and the builds that players had. When Mako played Annie up against SKT last week, he actually maxed the Q, the single target damage, disintegrate on Annie. Is that actually normal? I thought it was normally W for like more AoE burst.
I've always liked playing Annie with Q max because I feel in an entire rotation your Q will come up again and you can do a 1 extra damage spell. But overall, when you look at team fights, the second your W hits 2 people and you want to go for multiple people tibbers, then W kind of trails ahead. I don't think the cooldown shifts on any of the abilities. I think Annie's Q and W are static, so it's only damage. But Q is half the cooldown of a W. So overall, you're more likely on single targets. Q max is better. If you're very confident in yourself and you think, well, I'm going to consistently land multiple man tibbers and Ws, then W max is the better approach. But for short lane trades, if they happen to go like as far as 5 seconds, 6 seconds, getting the second Q with more damage in as they walk away could win you those trades. But we've seen this tournament so far very few bot lane trading because every time you step forward for a trade, well, you have 2 teleports behind you, and then you learn your lesson.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention the 2 teleports as well because we were talking about Bangkok Titans, the fact that they don't necessarily move around the map quite as well, but now we've got H2K with the double teleport. The fact that now Bangkok Titans, they need to be very careful about where they're moving on the map so that they don't get caught out by what they use to get themselves here in the first place.
Yeah, well, it's going to be the thing to watch for. G4 not with the playmaking to get around the map. He's going to be all about the one-on-one with the exhaust in the mid lane. Double TP from H2K, going to be trying to make, again, those aggressive moves all around the map, trying to make things happen with all their engage tools.
Yeah, and Ryu is actually just an incredibly smart player when it comes to that. When H2K play triple carry comps into double carry comps, Ryu is actually very smart, and he likes to trade his life to just take out another carry. And if you do that equally, suddenly the game becomes 2 carries versus 1, and it's incredibly hard to just win a fight on a single carry. As we saw one game in the European LCS, Ryu was playing Twisted Fate against SK Gaming, and he would continuously just dive in, take out one guy with him in his grave, drop dead, but that way the fight would propel forward in a manner that Hjarn could continuously clean up untouched in the back. We may see this exactly the same if Ryu plays that way on Lissandra.
But the game is unpaused, ladies and gentlemen. We're on to the rift for the Bangkok Titans taking on H2K. Bangkok Titans looking for some revenge to try and get themselves a win on the board.
And meanwhile, H2K looking for their path into the quarterfinals. They win here and they beat Edward Gaming a couple games later. They have that ability to tie break if all else goes according to seeding.
Well, Moss and G4 now hanging out in the river. It's a pretty standard defensive start here. We've seen a lot of teams grouping up, trying to get that deep vision. But this time, everyone's just chilling out, observing the waters at the moment.
30 seconds.
They're pretty waters.
Yeah, well.
How nice waves going through.
Exactly. Beautiful.
Slightly
girls with bears on their back as well.
The scenic route of Summoner's Rifts. Slightly losing matchup in the bot lane, as we touched on earlier for Lloyd and Moss, but it's manageable with heals. Whereas Darius kind of gets countered by Lu pretty hard in lane, gets kited, gets denied, range versus melee.
So does Nar as well,
that is
apparently.
When you face Bengi, most things are losing matchups.
Bengi wins any matchup. So this is why actually Odoamne is opting into double jungle to get past those rough early few levels. Also, Darius Lee Sin has a pretty decent double jungle overall. H2K initiating lane swap here. And they secure themselves 2 quadrants of the jungle, so no 3-buff shenanigans, anything. They may actually get more if they actually invade here on the enemy. We may see that from Kasing and Hjarnan.
I think this is really smart just in general as well from H2K, because it was a weakness that was worked out by a lot of the other IWC teams when the Bangkok Titans were actually getting here, is we do have a little bit of an invade coming through. Warlock does manage to get away, but 007X taking a lot of damage.
Ooh,
they take
one
a Sentinel.
Of the blue pieces
That's
taken.
a big deal.
Now G4 winning in the first trade against Ryu, though, so advantages across the map, but I think it's definitely a better one for the HK duo lane to steal part of the blue buff away and really screw this duo jungle.
Yeah, you can't afford to start there with no wards defending the jungle entrance. You know if you've played any scrims, you know that this is a viable strategy. If H2K opt to predict the lane swap or lane swap themselves, this is exactly what they're going to do almost every game. This isn't something new. BKT should have been ready for this.
Yeah, this is the weird thing. Like, from all my experience playing competitive games, things like this are very easy to practice against 0 people. I even, like, had a team where we practiced lane swaps at a 5-0 just to get the repetitions down right. So that's honestly very surprising that BKT screwed this one up, but they're behind because of it.
Well, it's what Bangkok Titans couldn't do. They couldn't actually work out how to play against a lot of these lane swaps. It was considered their weakness, and then they used double teleport to try and make up for that issue, the fact that they just try and get themselves into a regular laning scenario. But happening this time, and Lulex is just going to come in and say thank you very much.
Yeah, Moss did the same thing Kasing did, he just did it later. It's like, oh, support's moving into the enemy jungle instead of sitting in lane. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that too. He moved in, but it's too late. They're behind on the tempo. Probably like stating it whenever you talk to him about lane swap, he says they're behind on the play. And H2K right now, they're ahead on the play because their tower is already melting. The wave will be bounced back for Oduwamne, and he will spiral ahead in what initially was a losing matchup.
This is really impressive as well by Hjarnan. He's actually saving auto attacks, making sure he's rending to last at everything, just optimizing the amount of damage he has to deal to the minion waves. They're setting up this turret, and looks like they're giving the gold to the AD carry. Mid lane matchup, still a close one. Exhaust used for not much.
You can cancel the Sounders E if you knock her up roughly in the period where you predict her to use her E. So if that knockup came slightly later from G4, Ryu would not be able to proc the second part of his E and then relocate. That means Ryu would have likely had to flash. So that's a matter of not even seconds, just like milliseconds. If that knockup just came slightly later, G4 could have actually forced a flash there in the mid lane. Maybe that's why he exhausted.
Well, Bangkok Titans are going to utilize the fact that Tristana pushes turrets extraordinarily quickly to lock down that turret despite being a little bit late to that party. And both mid laners did head back. Well, actually, Ryu, he's made his way back towards the lane now.
And Oduwamne right now didn't preserve that perfect freeze because he knows he will be matched. When Darius bounces the wave towards himself, he wants to farm that for a while, but if somebody comes in and pushes him under the tower, the benefit of that freeze is actually turned around against you. So now you can see Oduwamne starting to push out in the top lane. Then he frees up as a resource as well, and H2K can move him around the map. They actually like diving bot lane with freeing up the resource that is Oduwamne. If not, they'll just swap the lanes around and keep him away from that Lu, avoiding that poor matchup, and propelling his farm. Look at it, 16-3. Yes, that can even out, but it'll take time for Warlock. In that time, Oduwamne is free to do whatever he wants on the map.
And we'll see where he goes. Track it for the next couple of minutes here. Right now, the bot lane matchup already looking good for H2K. You can see they're plus 10 minions right now, and you talk about double range versus a melee support, and you can see how far back Lloyd and Moss have to play. They don't have the tools to win this matchup.
Yeah, massive wave being pushed in the bottom too, so pressure everywhere except mid lane here for H2K, and they're using that to just get Lulex in a good position, potentially to make some plays, finding enemy jungle later on.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming down there as well as Hjarnan gets a lot of spears into Lloyd. Moss hanging around. They do have G4 cheating towards the bottom side. Actually, there's going to be the pulverizers. Kasing forced to use the flash to get back out. Exhaust down onto Hjarnan as there's the flame left, but he misses it. The slow goes down, and they're now focusing on this Kalista as Lloyd
still
few spears in him, but not enough. G4 even making his way into the party, but Oduwamne's here as well. Is Kasing going to fall down? The heal comes out. Nice flash after the E as G4 is going to have to back away. Headbutt to try and disengage as everyone's here for the bottom lane party.
What an amount of misplays right there. Beautiful opening from Moss. That Q flash into W was absolutely the correct play, especially if your jungler is coming around the corner. But then jump should be buffered so it procs on Annie or not use it at all.
Yeah,
so you can still get her when she runs. Hjarnan was overextended trying to peel, but he didn't get punished. The fact that 007X misses a body slam flash is an incredibly large misplay.
He could have just gone for Hjarnan instead of trying to greed for Kasing. And if you hit Kasing, you kill him, and that's actually a good play, but to get nothing at all for a summoner spell, huge mistake.
Well, Lulex is actually, I believe, discovering 007X here, but doesn't look like 007X is going to be in too much trouble. G4 making his way around.
Sightstone already done for Lulex. Actually rushed that item first. No longswords, no upgraded smite. So he gets to invade for free here, which he's got to feel good as a Lee Sin player.
And Lulex very often gets the criticism that he doesn't help his lanes as well. Well, I'm just going to ward for them. Let them help themselves.
Hey, it is helping.
I mean, he is playing Lee Sin. If he's just trying to play a farm game against Kraken, it's not a good way to play the matchup. So maybe we'll see more from him, but you can see the attempt at a trade right there. 3 to 4 hit Ren definitely does a lot of damage, and keep in mind there's still a Vamp Scepter on Hjarnan here, so he's going to have an easy time taking trades like this.
The thing to be said for Lloyd is the fact that he's now caught back up in that farm, only a couple behind.
Yeah.
A bit more of a wave there for Hjarnan. G4 is still just clearing out this minion wave, and we'll see.
He's tied with Ryu.
Yeah, how this top lane, middle lane works.
But yeah, top lane -14. The ulti comes across from the Fog of War. G4 really wants this fight. Don't believe he blocked any of the spells with the wind wall, but
he was looking for the glacial path there with the wind wall to stop that one from coming out.
Yeah, you could even stop her Q if you time it literally perfectly from hitting you.
Instead, Ryu just walks away casually.
Loses half his health, but he's got some potions to stay back up with, so it shouldn't be too bad. Guessing just misses the stun there. Wanted to tag Lloyd. That would have been a really brutal trade there.
Yeah, the entire dynamic of this lane changes at level 6 because Annie can obviously play very aggressively with the threat of Tibbers and Fate's Call being defensively. But Moss can also start fights where he can actually wait for his AD carry to follow up a lot longer because he will have the Alistar ultimate available to him to basically become unkillable, especially since Yarnan and Kasing, when they want to threaten a target, they need to use cooldowns. You will never use a cooldown on an ultimated Alistar, so he can actually just stand there and not take any damage at all for a very large amount of time.
Looks like a blue buff steal is going to come through here for H2K as well. Seem to have that one's number. Ryu is going to lock that one down as well. G4 making his way towards mid lane. Of course, G4 doesn't mind about it too much. Probably one of the worst champions with the blue buff in the game. Yeah,
but the map is being divided. It looks even, you know, this team gets a blue buff, this team gets a blue buff, but at the same time, because the top side of the map is so heavily H2K favored, that means Oduamne is playing without any constrictions, and that's why he's trailing ahead in CS right now. Look at the numbers, 30 CS already ahead, and again, a losing early game matchup. H2K played around that beautifully. They were ahead of the play, and they got Oduamne ahead, and now he's reaping the benefits.
Yeah, think about it. We're equal in kills, we're equal in turrets, and yet H2K is up 900 gold as a team, and that's because of lane matchups. Their bot lane's pushed in and yet outfarming. Their top lane just ahead by more than double in CS now. I mean, so many things going H2K's way, and the game just going slow like this is totally fine for these guys.
Yeah, and the fact that Warlock as well, he was just wandering around the river for the last, I believe, about 5 minutes, waiting for his wave to head back towards that inner turret because it was too dangerous for him to head out that far, especially against Oduamne.
Yeah, and especially against passive teams or teams that are playing as passive as BKT, your teleport generally comes up every time a play is made. Usually, the way you punish teleports, well, you make a play, you take a loss, but then the next fight, they don't have teleport anymore, and you can maybe make a play in a favorable matchup somewhere else, but BKT is too afraid to do that, so every time right now they're going to make a move, H2K will be ready with double teleport, and then it just promotes such a passive game right now, which is in favor while H2K is still ramping up for that mid-game spike.
Of course, they've got 3 threats.
Yeah, looking to finish off the static shift now as he heads back to base, but Ryu making his way up, and it just feels like H2K are biding their time. It feels like they're just more than happy to get this one done.
So we can see what else H2K wants to do then. Of course, they're happy to wait around, but as the team that's supposed to be a bit better, we'll see what kinds of plays they can make for themselves as they hope to eke some kind of advantage. Dragon's up, bot lane's pushing, but Tristana just got to recall for BF Sword, so Huronet's next choice should be to run away and go back to base. This trade should actually make that even more likely.
Yeah, Hip Hop Pulverize did land. There's the Rendo as the Tibbers comes down. Moss doesn't have level 6 yet. Ryu comes in. Nice exhaust, but it's not enough. Frozen Tomb onto Lloyd, but now he's able to get the auto off, picks up the kill onto Ryu, jumps forward, the flash is there, but that Fate's Call was so well timed. Kasing in there as well as 007X, so close to dead. Oduamne picks up Lloyd. Wild Growth comes in, but Warlock, oh my goodness, that shield was so good. G4 wants to find something, flashes forward, last breath is there, but he goes down so quickly, can't even pick up the kill.
Huge misplay by Lloyd. He ulted Kasing instead of Hjarnan. Fate's Call saved him the entire fight, turned around at the teleports.
It's like Doa said, you know, Lloyd, it's your friend. Lloyd, really? You do that again. Yeah, he jumped in. Didn't think about Fate's Call, and again, this is what we talked about. It changes the dynamic of any 2v2 bot lane. He could have gotten a reset and cleaned up the fight. Instead, takes the wrong target, loses the fight for his team. G4 wasn't there. We were talking about what did these teams need to do. Well, H2K, they don't want to teamfight 5v5, but they want to move around and make picks. Ryu was 10, 15 seconds earlier in that bot lane than G4. You can see that again on the map. Look where Ryu is on the minimap already while this entire exchange is going down. And look where G4 is at the moment. He has to path down all the way. Moss is still level 5. That's why he's not dying. I think Ryu makes a mistake here from ulting Lloyd overall. So he should probably get out of there. That's why he gets popped here immediately. But then the remaining of the fight, this is a big mistake. Lloyd also, I think, flashes.
He also flashed to land the R.
Yeah.
On the support with Fate's Call, that is not excusable. That's a major mistake.
And then the dunks come through, and the funny thing is, I called it wrong. H2K didn't even use teleports for this. Oduamne, you mentioned at the very start of the game, he pushed his wave and he walked somewhere else off in bot lane. And they timed that with Ryu's roam as well. Ryu was already heading down. The entire team walked in the bot lane. The double teleport team all had walked in there. No summoners required. Easy fight.
So that's a variation. Either you teleport to the bot lane, you walk back, or you walk there first, teleport back off into play if needed.
Well, 007X has found a very large Darius here in the jungle. Explosive cast come down. He's looking to try and start something here. Barrel's going to get the slow, but Lulex is around. There's the rocket jump. Try and close the distance as the Bangkok Titans picking a fight, but I don't know whether they'll be able to find too much.
That was an ult. He could have ulted Lulex and set up G4 for another attempt right there. This team still looks confused. 007X ulted Odwamna back and then walked away like, just kidding, I don't want to fight this anymore. And then kind of turned around and said, oh no, my team is coming. This is catastrophic for BKT.
I mean, Lloyd could have even ultied and procced the Yasuo ulti off the back of that one too, but they just weren't aware that Hjarnan was in the bottom river. He was a little slow on that rotation. Again, because H2K is playing really good in terms of vision denial, double pink ward. If you can't see anybody, you have to assume that they're close. That's generally the way you play the game. So that's why you want river vision. You can see somebody's trailing on the play. If they're behind, then you can punish, just like 007X being punished right here.
Most definitely, as Hjarnan's going to pick it up, just presses E.
Beautiful block on the body slam. Kissing walked in to make sure nothing can happen there. Really nice play by H2K. You can see the mechanical skill difference. The heal from Odwamna, and also kill him. He doesn't have flash, though.
Now, Lloyd is going to be able to hobble out of the way of that one, but that passive was doing so much damage.
Oh dear, this game is starting to really break apart now. H2K, I asked, what are they going to do to break this game open? We know they're the more skilled team, and it was very intelligent roams by these players. We looked at BKT's lineup, and after the third pick, we're like, oh, this is a Yasuo composition. They even grabbed Tristana. They have 1,000,000 ways and a half to set up G4. G4 is even winning mid lane for a short time, and yet they never set up these roams to pick people off from the side lanes.
Yeah, the correct play to play around a Yasuo composition is you roam away from him. You use the innate wave clear advantage that Lissandra brings to that matchup. You push him in, then you roam away from it. Doesn't matter how many setups he has for his ultimate if he's not in range to cast that ultimate, and that's exactly what H2K did, and that is why they're right now 4,000-5,000 gold ahead of BKT.
Moss trying to save this turret here as well. Hjarnan only a couple more hits are going to be able to lock that one down, but first Dragon now 14 minutes here for H2K. It's just Kasing and Lulex hanging out. There is vision available for the Bangkok Titans, but no one's here just yet, and Hjarnan's going to have enough spears in it.
Yeah, look for the Bangkok Titans to just go all in for a group. That's what they want to do. They still have an incredibly teamfight-oriented composition. We've dubbed it the Exodia composition, where if you combine all members right here, G4 trading with Ryu.
Yeah, Frozen Tomb comes in, but there's the stun. Everyone in for the party.
How about some overkill there, H2K? How about you go to the source of the Yasuo? You get him himself, multiple point-and-click stuns, easy pickup.
That wasn't too hard there. H2K now with so much deep vision. You've been talking about the whole game, Crepo, and definitely know exactly what's going on.
Even their sweepers are used in unison there. You saw the smallest of Venn diagrams there. The circles barely touched, making sure that little section of the jungle had no wards in it to make sure these roams are going to continue to be safe. There's a pink ward as well, so that entire strip, that normal path you take to and from mid lane and that left side of the map, unobstructed by vision, they can keep using that until BKT rewards it as they do now. Yeah, Odwamna has always had the support of either a player or multiple wards near him to make sure that he can push in his melee versus range matchup and then just get the control and then leave. That's the way H2K have been playing, mostly because Hjarnan and Kasing, they've played with less resources but still trade out ahead because they were just a superior duo bot lane overall here. So H2K individually outclassing, but also in terms of approach to this game, just a step ahead of Bangkok Titans the entirety of the game. Kasing now with distortion boots as well, so a roughly 4-minute cooldown on flash now means, again, more plays can be made. This game is opening up so quickly. The next 5 minutes probably going to be very explosive, with H2K earning a lot of their gold very soon. Odwamna actually looking for something here in the mid lane as G4 is getting a lot of attention. Of course, this guy does tend to be the carry for the team, but does like to split push, make himself a nuisance on the side lanes, but at the moment still just hanging around here in mid, and Kasing is the scariest little girl I've ever seen. Have you seen The Ring? No, that's definitely too scary for you. I mean, if you compare the visions right now from H2K against Bangkok Titans, it is the complete opposite. H2K have a wealth of deep wards in the enemy jungle. The only really ward that trails ahead of the river is one ward around Scuttle Crab here from Bangkok Titans that sees Dragon. That's all they have. All their other wards are so far in their own jungle. So they're playing on a third of the map, and H2K, they're playing on the remaining 2/3, and they can map out exactly where you are. And H2K, if they avoid the one way for Bangkok Titans to win this game, which is allow them to group, they can simply just tear them apart left to right, split push, and then collapse when a pick. That's the way they usually play. Push out side lanes, force somebody to defend rather, and then collapse on one of the side lanes or just pincer mid. They do it really well over in Europe, usually when they play, and I don't think Bangkok Titans are ready to counter such a play.
Lloyd's getting completely zoned off. There's the flash forward. Flash a little bit late there from Lloyd as the kick lands as well.
He smited the creep. He smited the creep to let his Q connect. Really good play by Luix there. Was body blocked by a creep, but he just said, I'll smite it out of the way. Q connects into Insect.
And the stuns were layered beautifully enough. Ryu with the long range ulti walked forward to the W so that Lulex could walk to ult him instead of having to insec or to flash to make the kick happen. So a lot of things going right there for H2K. And you're just seeing the difference in the mechanical skill and coordination of these two teams. BKT, we knew were outclassed, but even just showing the examples of the high level of skill of the H2K players is nice to see.
And this Lissandra definitely looking okay as well. Another unique mid lane pickup.
No, we actually saw Kami play it.
Oh, that's
I
a good
believe.
point. That is a good point.
I believe he's actually the PTL question winner.
Ryu.
Yeah, Pain Kami, I believe, was the first player in Week 2 to pick a new champion. With mid lane Lissandra, so anyone who voted that one, congrats in the Hall of Fame. Lulex knocked around, but only one man gets ulted, and that's the guy with Fate's Call on him. Nothing picked up. Odwabna soloing the front line. Ryu pushed back, but does it really matter? G4 caught up, and down goes Yasuo. Down goes 007. 3 already. Warlock's bleeding to death, and Lulex can't quite land the Q. But now this poor Alistair going to be hunted for his meat. H2K wants a burger.
Oh, the upper hand not quite there. Moss just trampling his way away, doing his very best to get out.
But yeah, aggressive body slam there from 007X. Kasing here finishing off Warlock with Ryu, adding insult to injury. And when that knock-up combo fails, Odoano just says, thank you very much, and he just cleans up that fight entirely. They don't get Moss. He's
not German.
Yeah, at least he gets some deep wards right now, so that's something for Bangkok Titans. But overall, H2K really win that fight because BKT can't even get their favorable combo off. Like, that was a two-man knock-up. You can suspend both people there, but if you just go for the Annie, then obviously Fate's Call comes in again.
As we can watch this one again here. The knock-up, and he can't quite get it on the right person. Literally no damage dealt. A big knock-up from Moss. Like, if he waited for that one instead, and he got Hjarnan and Kasing and Lulex together, it would have been beautiful here. But Ryu and Odwamna, basically together, those two take the backline by themselves. Tristana's already dead. The Gragas now isolated away from all his damage dealers, and it's just so easy to clean up there. And Ryu showing actually it was Mylon who played the Lissandra. How to do it right.
And yeah, just Bangkok Titans, they're not mastering their own champions. They've made critical errors when it comes to playing against Fate's Call twice. Right now, Lloyd has been jumping in aggressively, using his flash even to interrupt his own jump. We saw 007X with the right play. Your group, you want to get a knock-up combo, but it's incredibly telegraphed and on the wrong members. You want to go for carries, because even if you kill the support and maybe the jungler, you're still going to lose out that fight, because H2K playing triple threat here.
And it's even Tank Lee Sin, right? He went Cinderhulk after Sightstone there, so it's not like you're removing one of the damage threats. It's not even easy to kill either, so unfortunately the execution lacking here for BKT. And again, part of that is H2K making sure they're in the right place. Hjarnan, never the one in front, still 0 deaths in this game. Ryu only dies when it's for a good trade for his team, so the option's not really even open for BKT.
Yeah, and H2K now just preparing for Baron. You can see so many wards around the area, but they're just clearing out the turrets while they can. G4 looked like he was trying to get something happening, but at this much of a gold deficit, what can you do? Odoamne is going to get caught out of position just a little bit, kicked underneath the turret, but look at the heal coming through. 007X is already dead. The shutdown finally comes through, but is it going to be enough? Warlock's going to die as well. It's a double kill for Hjarnan. He's now hunting for more blood. Lloyd's going to fall shortly after as Ryu had picked up G4, and H2K is so far ahead.
That was absolutely the correct play to make for Bangkok Titans. Sadly, they were just too far behind for that to even work. They have beautiful chain, layering CC, on top of Odoamne, the biggest threat, the biggest carry, but he was just too tanky, gets 1 Q off, and suddenly that fight is lost.
And so is this inhibitor here as well as H2K. 3 dead on the side of the Bangkok Titans, able just to take control of this base.
There it is. 21-minute, 23-second inhibitor kill. H2K gonna put the record at 2-2 if they can close out this game. Same record as Edward Gaming, so again, will be the match they're looking for later in the day.
Moss cancels Ryu here.
And they're gonna have some people showing up. Warlock.
Pixie.
Oh, good flash by Ryu. And the thing is, you have to time that right, because Pix will follow you after the flash and get you back in a range for the Glitter Lance. So, fortunate timing there. Ryu guessed it correctly.
And Moss still trampling around this river. Sonic Wave doesn't land as Hjarnan's trying to get some pierces across.
Odoamne's back though, he wants more.
Actually lands the Q somehow, so he gets the heal off that, puts the bleed stack in. Now he's in the front line. G4 puts the Windmill out to isolate Odwamna, but he's walking back pretty safely. Knockup does not reach Hjarn. Then there's the push in onto Odwamna. Exhaust is on, and they will pick up that kill. The fight continues with too much damage coming through already. 2 kills for H2K. The third should be easy. Warlock flashes after ulting himself. The disengaged Lulex.
Yeah, the knockout flash, and it looks like Bangkok Titans looking to try and just make sure they don't lose too much from this situation. Odwamna is dead, but with a teleport, and Lloyd actually rocket jumping very aggressively. Sonic Wave is going to land, but the re-engage not going to come through.
And Buster shots him out of range. Can't get enough burst there. Lloyd's just too far behind. Hjarn then takes a crit to the face, but who really cares? Ren's going to take him out. Hjarn is dominating 6-0-7.
Just the unsung hero of this game, just picking up all of the kills off the back and so much consistent damage here for this Kalista with her 2 items.
Yeah, Hjarn, generally the more consistent player on H2K. You can always rely on a really decent to good AD carry performance from him. Especially on Kalista. I think he's mastered over the year, or not over the years, but over the months there in the European Summer Split.
So?
And he actually completed a Bloodthirster from a longsword as well. So when I said 2 items, I meant, 3 now, pretty quickly.
And the thing is, even though I suppose mathematically Last Whisper is a little bit more damage per gold here, there's just so little armor that doesn't really matter, and the extra lifesteal just, it's a bit safer. He's facing up against Yasuo and whatnot. Item builds aren't really that important, but here and then making sure he's pretty much unkillable in this late game.
Yeah, he's the only really threat that was slightly killable still on Bangkok Titans' side. They're funneling the damage to Odwamna. That's what they're doing, because positioning-wise, it's already incredibly hard to touch Hjarn in these fights. That means you gotta go for Rio. Well, he has Zhonya's and a built-in Zhonya's in his ultimate. Who do you focus? Darius. Well, who likes champions to be close to him, focusing him? Darius does. So overall, it makes sense. It's easy to analyze it this way when H2K is 17,000 gold ahead, but sure, still need to itemize correctly.
Now with the Baron as well on top of that. So H2K now looking to push up these waves and get the last remaining couple of inhibitors as G4 and Moss trying to hold off Odwamna, who's just a one-man wrecking ball at the moment.
And looking at ahead at the match against EDG, momentum is very important, especially when multiple games get played on the same day. EDG maybe a little distraught by the way they got dismantled by SKT, and H2K could feel confident here. I think the average level of play still was higher in the other game, but Lulex now gets caught.
Yeah, the ultimate does come out. Ryu's going to ult himself as the exhaust comes down, but look at that massive frozen domain as Warlock able to ult himself, but there's just too much damage from H2K. Double kill already. G4 trying to make something happen, but that's just going to be a triple kill there for Hjarn.
That was a good play there by G4. He hexed Ryu when he came out of his frozen tomb, so he couldn't use his Zhonya's. Sadly for him, when you're down 17,000 gold, that's not enough. You need multiple good plays and a lot of mistakes for H2K. They don't make the mistakes and they're closing out. Yeah,
it's just the gold lead here. The very end, though, we actually have some very good plays. 007X had body slam ready for the glacial path jump as well, so Ryu was done when he first got in, but it's far too much now. The gold lead's there. A 25-minute win in the works here for H2K. They improved to 2-2, and the chance at making the quarterfinals is still alive.
Congratulations to H2K. That just looked like such a clean performance, and we spoke about the fact that the Bangkok Titans like to play scrappy League of Legends. Just looks like this sort of team fight composition doesn't really play to their strengths, and G4 was just way too far behind to get any sort of split push done.
I mean, that's the problem, is the early game did not go well. The lane swap, they got outplayed in this one. Odwamna just completely outperformed Warlock, got around the map, made these roam plays, TPing back to lane. All that went absolutely beautifully for H2K. That was the early game lead, and you talked about, we heard, sorry, what Yamato Cannon said about H2K. Yep. They played textbook League of Legends. They are very good at the 5v0 style of game. You saw the lane swap, it worked out better. They invaded the jungle, that didn't happen to them. They pulled BKT behind, didn't happen to them. They got the turret down first and got back to lanes first, didn't happen to them. The sort of 5v0 element of this game was all H2K, and when it came back to the regular fights, it was almost too late.
Lulex actually walked too far there. His team was like, Lulex, come on. We're about to bow. There he is. There he is back on your screen, waiting for the bow to the crowd here. But yeah, Bangkok Titans, they could have done their research better, because the plays that H2K made here, they made already in the European LCS. That lane swap style was nothing new, nothing surprising, and they just started with an incredibly greedy start, not defending their weak side of the jungle where you can get punished the hardest, your double jungle. Fell behind in momentum, tower falls first, bounce wave to Oduwamne. Once he potentially gets fed, he makes that bounce wave into a push advantage, frees him up again. Suddenly he can move around. Eventually, Ryu breaks open out of that mid lane. He roams bot. There's no Yasuo setup anymore, and everything falls to pieces for the Bangkok Titans. So they had a good composition, but they didn't play to their strengths, just as we expected.
Yeah, and the team fight, the dive there in the bottom lane as well, where Ryu did actually fall down, but then the rest of the team picked up so many kills. How there were just tiny amounts of health on the members of H2K. Bangkok Titans must have thought if we had have done this slightly differently, if this had have gone slightly better, then it would have been a much better situation. You mentioned the fact that the Buster Shot was used on the wrong targets, this sort of thing. That could have definitely weighed on the minds of the Bangkok Titans moving into the rest of the game, because that was the biggest swing.
Yeah, I mean, if you tilt off the face of the earth, you know, and you pull a full CLG, then you're just gone. And actually, you know,
too soon?
Possibly.
Never too soon, because now all the NA faith with Cloud9 or TSM, so it just advances forward for all the NA fans out there. But I mean, no, this was a game of BKT. I mean, obviously showing that they were an outclassed team. There were a number of mechanical misplays that even you or I, who are no longer on this stage playing, can point out and see things like, okay, that should have gone better. That was the choice should have made.
It's always easy to point the mistakes.
Well, I know, of course it is,
but it's really hard to execute them. But it's in a heated moment. It is excusable in a sense to forget about Fate's call, but if you advance out of groups, we're here at the world stages, you can't make those, you can't afford to make those mistakes, especially not when you're already holistically or macro level wise outclassed by another team, which used to be one of H2K's strengths until the other teams caught up and read their plays. H2K have pulled similar plays and gotten hard countered because people predicted their map moves. If BKT did better research or just better VOD reviews, they could have predicted some of these map moves here from H2K Gaming.
Or at least help themselves get to a position where they could counter whatever they bring up and maybe just play a little bit safer, have some more defensive vision, stop themselves from falling into this trap, which is what honestly was their weakness in the IWCQ. So maybe next time we see the Bangkok Titans, they would have worked on this sort of side of their play, but seems like it might be a little bit late now.
Yeah, well, to their benefit, though, I do want to say I actually like their team composition.
Yeah,
we said at the very beginning of the game, like, all right, they got to put their big star mid laner G4 on an assassin, get him set up, and it was a very obvious Yasuo setup. The entire team playing support of some kind for him. I do think that was good. It's just, again, it just comes down to the individual skill level of the players, not up to par against the likes of H2K or the other teams that they have to face in this tournament with Edward Gaming and SKT. BKT, I mean, maybe they could have done more with a different group. There's always a chance. I mean, we saw, and maybe, you know, Pain's better than them, but, you know, Pain managed to pull 2 wins throughout their group stage, so, you know, maybe the opponents could have been a big, you know, bit of a difference there. Either way, though, it's the end of the run here. I mean, these guys cannot make the quarterfinals anymore. Even if they were to win the next 2 games, they can't make 3 wins, which is what they need to make the top end of the group. They can still, I think, technically tie for 3rd. There's a chance to do that if Edward Gaming somehow crashes out, but it is the end of the line as far as advancing goes.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate here for the Bangkok Titans. And I want to see 007X, now that they do have, you know, this extra game to just muck around with. You know, you don't need to worry too much about tying for 3rd. Just play your comfort picks. I want to see the likes of his Sejuani, which was absolutely fantastic. Played Udyr in the IWC. I know we're looking back a long way, but it's a really exciting pick, and he plays it fantastically well. And 007X wasn't a factor in that game. I want to see what he can do coming into the next one, and hopefully there are no Thresh bans so that we can see Moss actually be unleashed. But for now, we do have a word with H2K. We're going to head downstairs to the interview lounge.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, joined here by Odoamne, and probably after that victory until everything left to be decided in this group. Honestly, first let's talk about this game, because obviously with all the upsets happening, did you prepare them knowing that there is still a real chance in this group and they really couldn't drop this game?
We're preparing everything to be the ones that upset. I am continuing the blue shell in Europe, and that is our goal.
Odoamne.
Yeah, like we saw everyone beating pretty much everyone in the first week, and yesterday we had a lot of upsets. CLG got knocked out, so we went in thinking that everything is possible, and we tried our hardest in practice this week, and we showed it in this game against Bangkok Titans, which was a lot cleaner than the one from last week. So I think we have a shot.
Well, talking about having a shot, EDG and SKT still up, and especially in that SKT versus EDG game, it showed that EDG has definitely some weaknesses in the early game, albeit they played SKT. But did that make you more hopeful about that matchup?
I actually think it's really good for us. I think SKT is kind of like a cleaner version of what we would like to play. So as long as we're playing somewhere similar to our style, it looks like it works really well against EDG. The problem is we just have to make sure pick ban is solid, so that's a lot on me. And as long as we play like we've been doing in scrims, then I think we actually have like a pretty good kind of counter strategy what EDG does.
It's all on you, probably.
It's all on me.
Hodawamne, what are your thoughts on that matchup?
I think it's going to be better than last week because we had some problems in picks and bans against them, and we picked poorly, and it just showed in the game. So this time, with better picks and better bans, I think it's going to be a lot easier than last week.
Well, in all honesty, in the individual performances, you definitely had some good games, even in the games you were losing. What do you think of the matchup specifically versus Amazing J, as a lot of people have pointed out that he could be a weak spot?
I think he's definitely weaker than Maren. Amazing J was a lot easier to play against in lane. He makes mistakes, and it's easy to exploit them. But against Maren, it's really hard.
We'll see what happens. Finally, before I let you guys go, talk to me about the other European teams that have been doing well, OG exceptionally well, and then Fnatic maybe underwhelming. What's your thoughts on that, Prolly?
Fnatic's performance is really surprising. I thought they would be the 3-0 and Origin would have the weaker first week. So it's nice to know that there's like higher ceilings for these teams. So now we're the last team in Europe to kind of show our higher ceiling and pick up where they're doing.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed when I saw Fnatic go 1-2 after they beat IG super easy. But I think they can go 3-0 this week and get through the group, and I think Origin will go through the group as well.
All right, well, we will see in the next couple of days. And for you guys, the race is still on as well. Thank you very much. Congratulations on this victory. As for us, we're going to take a quick break, but the action continues in a couple of minutes with BKT versus EDG, so don't touch that browser.
I'm not saying that, you idiot. He said it, right, probably?
Yep.
He said it.
Yeah. Jumps forward, the flash is there, but that fake score was so well timed. Kissing in there as well as 007X, so close to dead. Odawamne picks up Lloyd.
Nothing picked up. Odawamne soloing the front line. Ryu pushed back, but does it really matter? G4 caught up and down goes Yasuo.
Underneath the turret, but look at the heal coming through. 007X is already dead. The shutdown finally comes through. Warlock able to ult himself, but there's just too much damage from H2K. Double kill already. G4 trying to make something happen, but that's just going to be a triple kill.
They improved the 2-2, and the chance of making the quarterfinals is still alive.